the time-honored tradition of the session coming up. Obviously, we look forward to the longer sessions when people really dig into the budgets and we really look at taking care of our towns and taking care of everyone in the state. One thing that I'm really passionate about this is that you guys would be quite surprised that, one of the things that the entertainment industry has is manufacturing plants. People might not put it all together in their head, but do you know that at Bristol, when you drive by the ESPN campus, that is like a manufacturing plant. They're actually literally manufacturing entertainment that's being consumed all over the world globally. And what I want to point out today is some very important things and aspects of what it means to be in the entertainment industry and how much economic impact that we actually have. Because there's a lot of misconceptions about, well, the money goes to Hollywood or this or that or the other. There's a lot of folks standing right behind me, and then also myself, there's a lot of blue-collar workers that have families. In fact, my wife, my partner, cannot be here because she had a snow delay, so she had to get the kids on the bus a little bit later today, so unfortunately she could not make it. But the thing that I want to talk about is about the jobs. There's close to over 14,000 people that are currently employed, either full-time, part-time gig workers or support staff that actually work in the manufacturing of entertainment. And I say manufacturing because a lot of us are skilled laborers, not only from the acting side that you might see in front of the camera, but behind the camera, the lighting technicians, the painters. We've got set construction. We have location managers. We have upwards of, thousands of opportunities. And including myself with Chair 10, we actually had two marquee productions this year. One from Bob Yari, if you guys know of Yellowstone and the Lawman TV series. God convinced him to come here, and we actually hired over 135 employees on that one job. On the second job, we have Mark Burke that we shot. If you guys know, with 2.5 Men. And also the Saw series, got him to produce a film here, and we hired about 175 people. So I'm thinking in the 300 to 400 range that myself, and not including the people behind me. So if you think 300 to 400 people economically impacting the communities, renting hundreds of hotels, hundreds of rental cars, and those rental cars we pay tax on, the hotels we pay tax. We have not only that, but we have people that are tourism coming in and really impressed with the state. We're talking about opportunities of taking buildings like, I don't know if you guys know the Matrix, the Union Carbide building called the Summit now in Danbury. We were able to, utilize some of their spaces for over several weeks. They got thousands and thousands of dollars from us. Why? Because we want to give back to the communities. On top of that, we're giving, opportunities for education, training, working with universities, UConn and other universities that we're working with. And then on top of that, the last thing, and I want to make this really important before I open this up, is that when you look at entertainment, when you watch and you're walking the aisles of Netflix, and when you're walking the aisles of Paramount Plus, or you're going to ESPN and you're looking at those, you're consuming products that potentially were also made here. And if you guys are familiar with all the Christmas movies that come to the state, there are people right now in Europe that are loving those Christmas movies. There are people all over the world watching, basketball from ESPN, but also the films that we make here and the incredible talent we have here. So the importance of those numbers and the millions and hundreds of millions of dollars that you look over the period of the last several years, that people might say, well, what do you guys really do? Well, what we really do is we make all of you guys happy when you're like, I need to escape from the craziness of the world. And so when you're cheering on UConn basketball, when you're cheering on your favorite, ice hockey team, or you're watching, a crazy little cute rom-com movie, or maybe a horror film like the movie Candlewood or something that Mike Furman did. There are all these type of movies that you guys are consuming. But Connecticut alone is hundreds of opportunities of actually producing manufacturing jobs, because you have to look at it that way. So next time you guys, watch a movie, watch your favorite sports, look at all the end roll credits, look at how many thousands of employees. And over that time period, just sit back and think, that person that lives next door to me is also consuming that product. But this is something that matters because it's about jobs, blue-collar families that are trying their best to survive. And we in Connecticut have that opportunity to help those people. And then we can also entertain the world. So I'd like to have a few people come and speak. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves. John, if you want to come up first. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Boquette. I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development in the town of Newtown. My colleague from across the river, Mr. Bielmeyer, is here as well. And maybe you're asking, why is an Economic Development Director here? Well, the $75,000 to $100,000 a day that the film industry brought to Newtown just toward the end of last year is a big one. I want to say that first, Selectman Jeffrey Capisi from Newtown and I had opportunities to work with production representatives and spend time on 2 filming locations in Newtown recently, and we'll be welcoming more film personnel later this week. First Selectman Capisi apologizes for not being able to join us today, and he's asked me to relate the following information. The Connecticut Film and TV Alliance plays a vital role in strengthening and expanding Connecticut's film and television industry by attracting productions across various media, including digital content, commercials, music videos, feature films, short films, documentaries, and television programming. Connecticut communities like Newtown directly benefit from these initiatives. Lauren Black, a Newtown native, along with her husband, Jonathan, have exemplified this impact through Chair 10 Productions. The recent film production they brought to Newtown brought a large crew, employed hundreds, and boosted local businesses, including catering, lodging, and transportation. I eagerly anticipate the release of that film, The Monster, later this year, and look forward to their continued contributions to Newtown and the surrounding communities. Their work not only drives economic activity during filming, but also positions Newtown as an attractive destination for future film, TV, and other productions. Thank you and your colleagues for your efforts in championing Connecticut's film and television industry, Jonathan. I'll further share that for this project, several production personnel came and worked in Newtown, scouting various locations and working with various crew members, during which time they patronized a number of local businesses. And according to accounting from Chair 10, during the 2 principal days of filming for The Monster, over 100 people attached to that project were in town working at a restaurant called The Foundry and at 2 private homes. In addition to location fees to The Foundry and those 2 private residences, the production also paid for use of parking near that restaurant and the use of a local volunteer fire station, as well as parking at a restaurant at a separate location. The production hired Foundry to feed the entire cast and crew for an additional several $1,000s to a restaurant that might not normally get that kind of traffic or income during the time period in which they were in town. The Sandy Hook Cafe also provided breakfast for cast and crew members. Additionally, same story, making several $1,000s when they probably would not have had that opportunity. Both those businesses received local attention, and the Sandy Hook Cafe, to their credit, actually put out a social network post inviting people to come and watch the film being made, which actually brought additional people and dollars into the Sandy Hook Village Center. And several of the crew members who descended onto local eateries like Cover 2 after work and throughout the production, even when they weren't filming in Newtown. So the overall financial and economic impact that Newtown directly experienced was between $150,000 and $200,000, and there was even additional secondary benefits for people like restaurant employees, security, and other businesses that saw economic boost from the days of filming in Newtown. Finally, because Newtown and Sandy Hook area businesses were so film friendly, Chair 10 has shared that there's another film of even larger scope that's interested in filming in Newtown, potentially over the summer. We'll look forward to welcoming their scouts, as I said, later this week. Thank you.
Thank you. And he's been fantastic. One thing that I want to bring, before I bring my next speaker up, is that The Connecticut Film and TV Alliance, it started out a very tiny little thing as a hope a couple of years ago. I have to say I've got several board members here present. We're a 501c3. We do this to, really impact education, job training, job placement, and also really working with people to bring attention to the massive employee base that we have and that we can create. The cool thing about that is we're over 600 plus members of our alliance now, which is a huge step forward in the last couple of years. So I want to really give out to my alliance members and my board members that are currently here. So I'd love to have Kevin Bielmeyer, if you want to come up and speak.
Thank you, Jonathan. Kevin Bielmeyer. I am the, as John mentioned, an economic development director as well for the town of Southbury. But I'm here for actually 3 different reasons. That's one of them in my rural municipal job, but also I'm the current president of CEDAS, which is the Connecticut Economic Development Association. And if you don't know CEDAS, it's been around since 1962, and it is dedicated to promoting healthy lifestyles in communities, to sustainable revenues, and as John definitely mentioned, job creation. And but the third reason I'm here is also as a parent. You mentioned, people being employed. I'm thankful enough to have 2 daughters who are in the industry, went through Connecticut schools at Sacred Heart University and the Hart School, and are now working in the film industry and have had the opportunity to work on these productions here in the state of Connecticut. So I have three stakes in this, let's say. Now, the truth is, right, is as exciting as this is this is actually not new for Connecticut when it comes to the film and television industry, right? Those of us who have been around, as I have for many, many years, know the history of this. And, whether it's Christmas time, you're popping in Christmas in Connecticut, right, or any of the movies you might catch on TCM. As Jonathan mentioned, whether it's you're enjoying the Hallmark movies that have been shot here, so many of them. And now recently the state has jumped in the game of promotion, right? We have the movie trail. You may have seen that come out of the Office of Tourism this past cycle, which has been pretty exciting. In fact, it got so much attention, it was on Jimmy Fallon's The Tonight Show. He did a plug for it. And the other thing is going back in time. So going back to, say, around '01, you may recall that Chris Lemmon, the son of the late, great Jack Lemmon, the actor, and others got together and formed an push to create tax incentives and to draw the film and television industry to our state. And that has been in play ever since. Other states took a look at what we were doing and copied it with their own tax incentive plans, such like states like Georgia. And then they went all in, right? They went all in with building studios, and they went all in with developing talent, So we here in Connecticut, we sort of laid the groundwork, but then now it's time for us to really dig in our heels and further grow this industry here in Connecticut. Back in New Milford, you may have recalled a movie called Mr. Deeds that Adam Sandler did. And prior to being economic development director for Southbury, I also was economic development director for New Milford. And back then, when they stopped into town and saw the wonderfulness of that quintessential New England town of New Milford, they said, hey, let's shoot this movie here, right? And what that did was it created the New Milford Film Commission. It was necessary to put together a local group of folks who were going to handle all the logistics of these productions. And coincidentally or not coincidentally, there's only 2 film commissions, municipal ones in the state of Connecticut. They're New Milford and Southbury. So I can't take credit for either of them, but I can certainly draw your attention to it. But at some point, hopefully all of our towns and cities are going to have a film commission of sort, right? Danbury is getting extremely active with these new productions. And it definitely helps to have, as John said, the support of the local government and the local cooperation to handle all these permits and all the logistics to put on a production like this. But we're very fortunate that we have both this Connecticut Film and Television Alliance, the 600-person strong membership organization to help promote and drive this. And we have Chair 10 Productions, Jonathan and Lauren Black. They came, after almost 2 decades of time in LA working with Hollywood Productions. Now they're here, right? Back home in Newtown to help promote and dedicate their efforts to growing production right here in Connecticut. So it's an exciting time. I mean, let's face it, Connecticut, we live here, we know it has it all, right? If you want to shoot, if you need a shoreline, you've got Connecticut. If you want to shoot in a forest or the hills, you've got Connecticut. The wonderful rivers, the Farmington River, the quintessential New England village, or our cities. It has everything. And there's a focus right here in Connecticut that Jonathan has mentioned of manufacturing, right? We make things here. I mean, it's our brand now, make it here. And that is exactly what the Connecticut film and television industry is all about, making products here that can now be shared around the globe. So thanks for your attention.
Yeah, I really want to stress, thank you for that. We actually had one of his lovely daughters. We actually employed her on the last film we worked on. But I wanted to really focus on the make it here. Make it here, manufacturing entertainment. I just want to drive that home because here's the thing. When I said there's over 14,000 jobs, there are 14,000 people working in these jobs. Do you know there's 20 or 30,000 people that are supporting that? So each one of you, when you go to a restaurant, when you go look at, go shopping at your local florist or whatever else, we work with those companies. We support small businesses. And so that's why, make it here is so important to Connecticut because we are a manufacturing state of great entertainment, all the way from sports broadcasting, and as I mentioned, to great films, Christmas films, all kinds of fun things. So the next person I'd like to bring up, and this is really dear to my heart, because it is about education. It is about working with the universities. It is about working with the students that graduate and we keep them here. Because think about the billions of dollars that have been spent on all the major universities. Why can't we use some of that and get these students to work here at home? Just like we just had, Kevin's daughter that was able to work here locally. So I'm going to introduce one of our lovely board members of the Alliance, and I'll let her speak. Heather.
Hi there, I'm Heather Elliott Familaro. I'm a filmmaker and head of the Department of Digital Media and Design at the University of Connecticut. But I'm here, to really talk about being an educator for 25 years of really working hard to build a creative economy, both here and in my previous position. And what Jonathan said is really, really important. We have really excited students who are talented, extremely talented, and it's so exciting to be able to say, like, you love Connecticut, you can stay in Connecticut. There's a future here for you in your industry. You don't need to move to New York or need to move to California, which has sort of been the old standard. So, the reason why I'm serving on the board is to really help to promote the possibility of keeping our young people in the state and how do they contribute to, all of the economies. I mean, I think the thing that's exciting about filmmaking in particular and video production and digital media is that we're not only creating films, which are wonderful to consume, but we're promoting everything else. We're creating the marketing videos. We're creating the commercials. We're selling Connecticut literally with every video that is created to support our museums, to support our incredible landscape, to support our parks, to support our industries. All of our industries are there. So unique to the entertainment industry, I think, is the way that we're a web that's bringing together everything that Connecticut has to offer. And that's really, really exciting for the future of young people and everyone here, the many, many, many independent film studios, as well as bringing in those productions from all over the world. So, that strength, let's just try to keep creating new opportunities for our various industries.
Thank you, Heather. The next person I want to bring up means a lot to me because his grit, his dedication, not only that, but he also graduated from a pretty prestigious university here in the state. And I really want to recognize and bring up TJ Sullivan. Come on up. This guy is an amazing young talent.
My name's TJ Noel Sullivan. I'm born and raised here in Hartford. And about 3 years ago, I decided to move from Los Angeles back here to Hartford to found the Hartford Film Company, really because I believed in the future of filmmaking here in Connecticut. And I think a story that really speaks to the importance of now. About a year ago, I got a call from a friend who said, "Hey, TJ, I have this film project that is set to shoot this summer. It's set in Hartford. It is a Hartford story, but my producers are telling me that we should shoot it in New York because financially it probably makes more sense to shoot in New York." And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I got on a phone call with his producers and him, and we went through the finances. We went through how the Connecticut Film Tax Credit would benefit their production, how they could hire additional crew members as a result of the film tax credit. And after about 3 weeks of going back and forth, they finally said, you know what, we're going to shoot this in Hartford where it belongs. That film premiered at the Sundance Film Festival this week. It's called Ricky, and it won the award for Best U.S. Director. And I heard afterwards they sent about 40 of the cast and crew members from Hartford out to Sundance, out to Park City, Utah for the week to talk to people. And the story that I heard back over and over again was these people, they're at these parties with the big Hollywood elite, and people are going, "Hey, I loved Ricky. Where'd you guys shoot it?" "We shot it in Hartford, Connecticut." "Oh, I didn't realize Connecticut had a film industry." "Oh, yeah, it's growing very quickly. And this year there's only one film at Sundance from Connecticut, but in future years I think there's going to be a lot more." So I'm really appreciative of everything the Connecticut Film Alliance is doing to continue that growth and that momentum, and I think we have a lot more to come.
Thank you, TJ. All right, guys. As we mentioned, we want to would love to take some questions. But before I say that, the thing that's very, very important for not only the constituents or people that are sitting in their couches in comfort on a Sunday or afternoon watching a film or a sports network show is that, again, it is about what we manufacture. It's about every one of these working individuals that they're not, the big Hollywood elites, but they can be, and they're going to bring more business here. So with that, I'd like to open up any questions, especially if there's any press in the room that would like to ask any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. What's your betting on this? Like, where does it all stand?
That's a good question. Well, this year we had a really big, or 2024 was a really big banner year. And what I mean by banner year is, you guys probably just heard that Major League Soccer is going to be moving their operations here. And so that's going to be a really big kick. One thing that has really happened is that because of where we're at in the growth and the alliance growth and everything else, we have a lot of momentum moving forward, meaning that we have multiple projects and multiple producers that normally would probably not look at Connecticut are now currently looking at Connecticut. The other thing that I've now learned is, you could have New York looks at Connecticut prices because a lot of people want New York. Well, guess what? We can show you New York right here in Connecticut. And that's bringing hundreds of millions of dollars of opportunity, growth, and job growth. The idea is to double our production. Currently, we're sitting at about 14,000 employees statewide. The idea is to probably get that in closer to 30,000. That's our goal. So that's where we're at.
Where does it stand in your support in the legislature and the likelihood of change from what's in place right now?
Right now, as we're moving forward, there has been some discussion, ramblings from last year. Obviously, you guys probably heard of that. But what we're focused on right now is really trying to educate the lawmakers specifically that it's not just a credit that's given, it's earned. Right now, I think there's some discussion with some budgetary things I'm not sure of right now. So we're looking at what bills that are being put out. There's been a lot of discussion on certain bills, and we're willing to fight the good fight to keep the jobs here in the state.
Will there be a change from what's in place now in Lamont's proposal on Wednesday?
As of right now, I do not know exactly what's in that, so we'll have to see. And happy to have any discussions with anyone if there's a negative impact. And the reason I say negative impact is it's kind of hard to argue with manufacturing jobs and manufacturing opportunities here in the state. But I'm willing, and we're all willing to have discussions, not only with the governor, but any other lawmaker that might have additional negotiation questions.
Go ahead. So I have a couple of questions. A lot of people who have great talents that would make a good transition for the film industry. For example, like one of the makeup artists on my Houston short film, I spent like $14 grand giving jobs to mostly Connecticut people. One of the people I hired, she didn't really work in film before, but she still had all the makeup stuff, so I gave her a chance and she did a really good job. But what I'm wondering is, are there any programs like, I don't want to say like apprenticeships, actually that might be the best word for it. Do you know of any apprenticeships where they can take people who have skills that apply to film, but like they're not necessarily working in film yet? Because I noticed like, it's kind of like people who are good with their hands, they make good grips. If someone's either like a plumber or someone who just works in like setting up equipment, they can easily be taught how to set up like a C-scander.
Yeah, I think that's a valid question, and this is why, you know, working with Heather and the UConn students and everybody in the state is to not only, you know, maintain but also grow the industry. So part of that is workshops, mentorships, training. The idea is that they're working with the state, working with the local towns, having opportunities, because we have to grow to stay up with the demand. Because right now the demand is pretty good, and we want to make sure that people that want to get in the industry, how do they do that? So part of what the Alliance does, and that we're going to be doing in the future, is doing apprenticeships, workshops, and opportunities that we're going to be providing. But the thing I want to stress the most, and I think this is talking about economic impact, as you've heard from Kevin and John from Southbury and Newtown, is even if it's, you know, 500,000, 700,000, $1 million, $2 million, you know, 15 grand or 100 million. All of that money is being spent currently in the state. For example, most people are like, well, what about the out-of-state people that come in? Do you know that most of those people get anywhere from $400 to $500 cash a week to spend in the state just to go as per diem? You know, the hotels, we currently, when our production, we had over 40 hotels at, you know, through the Ethan Allen, 40 rooms. You know, and we pay hotel tax. On top of that, gas tax. The fact that we spent over $40,000 in fuel. The fact that I'm spending multiple trucks. All of this, it trickles down, and I hate using that word, but it basically funnels all the way through, so that when you look at economic impacts, you can't just look at the overall, hey, this many jobs, but also what do they do? How do they interact with the communities? Yes.
Yeah, well, basically, I wanted to dive down a little bit further on what you were saying, because I commonly hear that for every dollar that the state gives out for a tax credit to a company, they see $3 coming back in spent. So I think it was...
Yeah, that's actually very accurate. For every dollar that the state would put in, there's maybe even $3.50 to $4. And I say that because not only, you know, Margrove of our company, you know, TJ's company, we've got other people bringing companies and bringing producers here. And that's where they see Connecticut not just as a flyover state to New Jersey, New York, but they say, oh my gosh, there's opportunity here. And we've got to capitalize on that. And I think with the jobs, I mean, you're thinking just in the productions alone, you know, that we had over the summer, like, you know, we're talking 300 to 400 employees total. I mean, that's a lot of people that are, you know, putting a footprint in the state. And we even had out-of-state people, and I'll give you an example, and this was really important. Mark Berg actually flat out told me, he was like, I would love to bring the next Saw movie to Connecticut. I mean, you know, and it's because he enjoyed what he was here. I mean, there are people, and there's a lot of great lawmakers in this building right now that would love to probably get a lot of more economic impact in their districts. And that's what we're going to be working on, is building relationships with the different towns and different districts to see who we can actually help them economically impact their communities. Any other additional questions? Because then we have to wrap up here in a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah, you had mentioned out-of-state people coming in. I'm assuming usually that's crew, because there have been a lot of union productions in the state. Are there any plans for support for non-union productions, especially what you're planning on doing with these workshops? A lot of those people won't be union to start, so I just want to see if there's anything.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I've had a lot of people ask me about the unions, and in fact, IATSE has been very supportive, and Tom Woods, actually, Vice President of IATSE, actually lives in Connecticut, for any of you guys that know that. The idea is we need training. We need to teach people. These small independent films are the training ground for the larger projects. So as I like to say, you know, I started out making my first independent film was $1,500, you know, 25 years ago. So, you know, you got to start somewhere, and we want to educate, train, and develop. And yes, we're very, you know, interesting about the unions is that, you know, we're obviously can be a pro-union, but we're also pro-job growth, pro-education. And you know, moving up the rings of the ladders, if you will. Or if you don't, you want to stay, there's a lot of great independent filmmakers and we'll be supportive of them as well. And I think that's important. I know we got to wrap up. Any last words you guys would like to say? Anybody would like to? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we do have a lot of different things we're going to be doing with connecting with a lot of various organizations, film festivals, supporting local film, having conversations with them, providing pathways to the union, which we had a lot of conversations with our event in November. So there's a lot of pathways forward and also a lot of support and conversations and having it so that it's a clear pathway forward and making sure everybody understands how to get there. That's what the organization is, it's education. So that's really our main focus, is ensuring that people understand where, if you're here as a filmmaker, this is the pathway, and we will have those continued conversations. Jonathan loves to have these conversations regularly and put an hour aside for anybody to have those conversations about what your next steps are, if this is where you are. So it's not like doing it in a vacuum or feeling like you're alone in the process. It's about understanding that you have support, you have people that want to give you support and education. We're continuing to grow. I have a lot of initiatives that I want to do for the organization moving forward this year and beyond to quadruple our numbers probably in the next year, because there's a lot of growing efforts. And so I'll be speaking to a lot of folks, and so is the rest of the board and everybody else in the Alliance, to try to understand what those conversations are. We had a lot of people at the Hartford Film Showcase at Real Artways the other day, a lot of directors. I encourage them to come speak to us about the challenges they face when making films here in Connecticut at the independent level, and to showcase that there is a pathway forward, and we're ready to help to provide that support. Thank you.
Yeah. And thank you. I do want to make one last comment, and then I know we got to wrap up. But the thing that is, I want to just stress is and it's very hard for a lot of people to understand what a film really is, or when they're watching, the good old, basketball. Gotta love UConn basketball. But think about all those cameramen. Think about the grip and electric. Think about every single person that's behind the camera. There are hundreds and hundreds of people working on these productions. And honestly, guys, they're blue-collar workers that have kids, families. And they're putting food on their table. And we have to look at that as a large manufacturing outputs. Because if you think about it, guys, at the Olympics, 1,300 people were brought in for the Olympics. And guess what? The Olympics were consumed globally. But then all of that was, so showcased in Connecticut. And they did that here. So this is important. We are an amazing state with a lot of growth, a lot of opportunity, and everyone can actually really see the economic impact if you just take a little bit of time and watch those end credits roll. So at that point, thank you for your time today. And yes, go ahead.
I just wanted to check if there's any other legislators or lawmakers in the room who wanted to take a comment or be recognized.
I'll make a comment. Sure.
Far be it for me not to stand in front of a microphone. I'm Bill Heffernan. I am the state representative for West Haven. Give you a shameless plug. We have 25% of all the public beaches in Connecticut in West Haven. So if you're thinking of filming anything, come on down. I'm not going to take a lot of time, but I am a SAG member, and more importantly, I am an Alliance member. And I just want to let you know that there is a lot of support for this in the legislature. And, my being here, excuse me, especially, I saw a commercial the other day, and it was Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson and Dennis Quaid riding around a car, and they're trying to convince themselves that they can make Texas the new Hollywood. And I think, more importantly, we can make Connecticut the new Hollywood. I'd like to thank Jonathan and his wife for their passion, for the support of the Alliance, and to bringing this industry back to Connecticut. I think we have some work to do. We need to get some more infrastructure going, a few other things, but I think we're going in the right direction. And just like to thank everybody for coming out and supporting this great industry. Thank you.